My stepmother forced me out. Until her dark past got exposed. The rain hammered against the windshield as I sat in my car, parked 3 houses down from what used to be my home. Through the downpour, I could see the warm glow of lights in the windows, shadows moving inside like everything was normal. Like I hadn't been systematically erased from that house over the past 2 years. My name is Rebecca Chen, and I'm 23 years old. 2 years ago, my father married Victoria Ashford, a woman 15 years his junior with a smile that could charm anyone and eyes that revealed nothing. 6 months ago, she convinced him to kick me out. Today, I was about to discover why. The beginning of the end. It started subtly, as these things always do. My mother died when I was 16, leaving my father, James Chen, devastated. For 3 years, he threw himself into his work as a commercial real estate developer, building his company from moderate success to something genuinely impressive. I was his anchor during those dark years, and he was mine. We were a team. Then he met Victoria at a charity gala. She was elegant, cultured, and seemed genuinely interested in his work. At 38 to his 53, she was young, but not suspiciously so. She volunteered at animal shelters. She donated to children's hospitals. She remembered everyone's birthdays. I wanted to be happy for him. I really did. "Rebecca, come meet Victoria." My father had said that first night he brought her to dinner, his eyes brighter than they'd been in years. "I think you two will get along wonderfully." Victoria had extended a perfectly manicured hand, her smile warm and genuine. "Your father talks about you constantly, the brilliant daughter getting her master's in architecture. I'm so excited to finally meet you." I shook her hand, noting how soft it was, how her grip was firm but not aggressive. "It's nice to meet you too." Everything seemed perfect. Too perfect. The engagement came quickly after only 8 months of dating. The wedding was elegant and tasteful. Victoria moved into our family home, the sprawling Tudor-style house in Greenwich that my mother had loved. I still lived there, finishing my graduate program at Yale. For the first few months, Victoria played the role of the understanding stepmother beautifully. She never tried to replace my mother. She gave me space. She asked thoughtful questions about my studies. She even helped me prepare for presentations, offering constructive feedback on my architectural designs. But then, small things started to change. The subtle campaign. It began with lost items. My favorite earrings, a gift from my mother, vanished from my jewelry box. When I asked about them, Victoria looked concerned and suggested I might have misplaced them during a trip to visit friends. I found them a week later in the kitchen junk drawer, though I never kept jewelry there. Then there were the conversations cut short when I entered rooms. The way Victoria's hand would rest on my father's arm when I spoke, a gentle but possessive gesture. The subtle redirections when I suggested family activities. "Oh, Rebecca, your father and I were actually planning to go antiquing that day," Victoria would say, her voice apologetic. "Maybe next weekend?" Next weekend never came. "My father started working later hours?" Victoria would shake her head sympathetically. "He's under so much stress with the Riverside development. I try to help, but you know how he gets focused on work." I didn't know. My father had always maintained work-life balance, especially after my mother's death. But now he seemed perpetually exhausted, distracted. When I tried to talk to him about it, Victoria was always there, offering him a drink, reminding him about some urgent email, drawing his attention away. The real turning point came during Thanksgiving, 18 months after the wedding. I had invited my boyfriend Marcus to join us. He was a fellow architecture student, thoughtful and kind. Victoria had seemed enthusiastic about meeting him, even offering to make his favorite dishes. But that morning, she came down to breakfast looking distraught. "Rebecca, I'm so sorry, but I don't think I can handle a big dinner today," she said, pressing her fingers to her temples. "I've had the most terrible migraine since yesterday. Would you mind if it was just family this year?" My father immediately took her side. "Sweetheart, if Victoria isn't feeling well, maybe it's better to keep things small. Marcus will understand." I called Marcus, embarrassed and confused. He was understanding, but I could hear the disappointment in his voice. We'd been together for a year, and this was supposed to be an important meeting. That afternoon, I found Victoria in the kitchen, cheerfully preparing an elaborate feast. No sign of the debilitating migraine she'd claimed that morning. When she saw me watching, she had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable. "Oh, you know how these things are," she said lightly. "Came and went. Thank goodness." I said nothing, but something cold settled in my stomach. After that, things escalated. Victoria began making comments about my presence in the house. Nothing overtly cruel, just suggestions wrapped in concern. "You're 22 now, Rebecca. Don't you think it might be good to experience independence? Living at home through grad school, you might be missing out on important growth experiences. Your father mentioned you have a trust fund from your mother. Have you thought about getting your own place? Somewhere closer to campus, maybe? I worry that having you here makes your father feel like he can't fully move forward. He'd never say it, of course, but I sense it." I started noticing other things. Bank statements for my father's business showed large transfers to accounts I didn't recognize. When I mentioned it casually, Victoria's expression darkened for just a moment before smoothing into concern. "Darling, you shouldn't be looking at your father's private financial documents. That's not appropriate." "They were on the kitchen counter," I said. "Still, some boundaries are important in a marriage." That's when I realized she thought of the house, of my father, of everything as hers, and I was the interloper. The final straw. The breaking point came 6 months ago, 2 weeks after I defended my thesis. I came home late from a celebration dinner with my cohort to find my father and Victoria in the living room. The atmosphere was tense. Victoria's eyes were red, like she'd been crying. My father looked angry in a way I'd rarely seen. "Rebecca, sit down," he said. "We need to talk." My heart raced. "What's wrong?" Victoria spoke first, her voice trembling. "I didn't want to say anything, but I can't keep quiet anymore. For your father's sake." "Say anything about what?" My father's jaw was tight. "Victoria told me about the money." "What money?" "Don't play dumb," he snapped. "The $15,000 missing from the household account. Victoria showed me the withdrawal slips." I felt like I'd been slapped. "I didn't take any money. I have my trust fund. Why would I need to steal from you?" "That's what I told your father," Victoria said, her voice small. "I said there must be some explanation. Maybe you have debts you're embarrassed about? Student loans? We wouldn't judge you. I don't have debts. I don't have student loans, and I certainly didn't take any money. I looked at my father, desperate. Dad, you know me. You know I wouldn't do this. But there was doubt in his eyes, carefully planted and cultivated over 2 years. Victoria had done her work well. The withdrawals were made from branches near campus. He said, "They have your signature." "That's impossible. Let me see them." Victoria produced a folder with bank statements and withdrawal slips. The signatures did look like mine, but something was off about them. The way the R curled, the slant of the letters. Close, but not quite right. "This isn't my signature," I said, my voice shaking. "Someone forged it." "Rebecca." My father's voice was heavy with disappointment. "I've supported you through everything. I paid for your education, gave you a home, asked nothing in return. And this is how you repay me? By stealing and then lying about it?" "I'm not lying." Tears burned my eyes. "Dad, please, why would I do this?" Victoria placed a gentle hand on his arm. "James, maybe we should give her a chance to come clean. If she's in trouble, we want to help." The manipulation was masterful. She was playing the compassionate stepmother while simultaneously reinforcing the narrative of my guilt. "I think it's time you found your own place," my father said finally. "I'll give you 2 weeks. "Dad." 2 weeks, Rebecca. I'm done discussing this." I looked at Victoria. For just a moment, her mask slipped. The concern vanished, replaced by cold satisfaction. She'd won. Life on the outside. I moved into a cramped studio apartment in New Haven. My trust fund covered the rent, but the betrayal cut deeper than any financial hardship. My father wouldn't return my calls. When I tried to visit the house, Victoria always had some excuse for why it wasn't a good time. Marcus tried to be supportive, but the strain proved too much. We broke up 3 months after I moved out. I threw myself into job hunting, determined to prove I could succeed without my father's help. I found work at a respected architecture firm in Hartford. The commute was brutal, but the work was good. I tried to rebuild my life. I went to therapy. I made new friends. I told myself I was better off without a father who could believe such lies about me. But at night, alone in my apartment, I grieved. Not just for the relationship I'd lost, but for what Victoria had stolen. My family, my home, my history. And I wondered why. Why had she targeted me so specifically? What had I done to earn such calculated cruelty? The answer came from the most unexpected source. The anonymous email. It was a Tuesday evening in late October when the email arrived. I was working late on a design for a community center, half watching rain spatter against my apartment window, when my phone chimed. The sender was listed as a friend. No profile picture, clearly a burner account. The subject line read, "You need to know the truth about Victoria Ashford." My first instinct was to delete it. Probably spam, or worse, some cruel prank. But something made me open it. The message was brief. "Rebecca, you don't know me, but I know what Victoria did to you. I know because she did the same thing to me. Her real name isn't Victoria Ashford. It's Victoria Morrison. And she's done this before. 3 times that I know of. She finds wealthy men, marries them, isolates their children, and gains control of their assets. Then things happen. Accidents, mysterious illnesses, convenient deaths that leave her as the sole beneficiary. Your father is in danger. I've attached documentation. The police wouldn't listen to me, but maybe you'll have better luck. Or at least, maybe you can save him. Check the attached files, verify everything, then decide what to do. Someone who lost their father to her. My hands trembled as I downloaded the attachments. There were dozens of files, news articles, court documents, death certificates, photographs. I spread them across my desk and began to read. Victoria's Trail. The first document was a marriage certificate from 2012. Victoria Morrison had married a man named Robert Ashford in Santa Barbara, California. He was 61, a successful tech entrepreneur. She was 31. Robert had a daughter, Amanda, from his first marriage. According to the news articles, Amanda had tried to warn her father about Victoria, claiming she was isolating him from friends and family. Robert hadn't listened. 6 months after Victoria and Amanda's relationship deteriorated, Amanda was asked to leave the family home following accusations of theft. The parallels made my skin crawl. 18 months after Amanda's departure, Robert Ashford died from what was ruled a heart attack. He was 63, with no prior history of heart problems. Victoria inherited everything: the house, the business, investments worth approximately $12 million. Amanda had contested the will, claiming Victoria had manipulated her father and possibly contributed to his death. The case was dismissed. Insufficient evidence. Victoria kept everything. The second set of documents was even more disturbing. Before Robert, there had been a man named Thomas Chen. I froze when I saw the last name, in Phoenix, Arizona. No relation to my father, but the coincidence was chilling. Thomas was a real estate developer, just like my dad. He'd married Victoria Morrison in 2008. He had a son, Brian, who was pushed out of the family home after accusations of drug use and theft. Thomas died in 2010, 2 years into the marriage. Carbon monoxide poisoning from a faulty furnace. Victoria inherited everything. Brian contested the will, but again, insufficient evidence of foul play. The case went nowhere. The third case was older, harder to trace. A man named David Sterling in Seattle, married in 2005. No children, but he had a younger brother who'd been cut out of David's life shortly after the marriage. David died in 2007 from a suspicious fall down the stairs. Victoria was the sole beneficiary. 3 dead husbands, 3 fortunes inherited. A pattern of isolating family members, planting evidence of wrongdoing, then stepping into the role of grieving widow. The attached photos showed Victoria at different stages. Her appearance changed slightly each time. Different hair color, different style, but the face was unmistakable. The smile was always the same, warm and predatory. The last document was the most damning. It was a report from a private investigator, commissioned by Amanda Ashford after her father's death. The investigator had traced Victoria's background and found it was almost entirely fabricated. Her college degree, from a diploma mill. Her charitable work, minimal and only during the courtship phase with each husband. Her family history? Lies. Victoria Morrison had been born Vicky Martins in a small town in Ohio. She'd been arrested twice in her 20s for fraud and forgery. After serving a short sentence, she disappeared from public records only to resurface years later with a new name and a new target. I sat back, my heart pounding. The anonymous emailer had been right. Victoria had done this before, and she was doing it again with my father. But why had the police never caught her? How had she gotten away with this 3 times? The answer was depressingly simple. She was smart. She waited long enough between marriages that connecting the dots required resources most people didn't have. She changed her appearance enough to avoid recognition. She chose victims carefully, men with strained family relationships, men who wanted to believe in second chances, men who were isolated enough that their deaths wouldn't trigger intense scrutiny. And she was patient. She didn't rush. She spent years building trust, gaining control, positioning herself perfectly. The question was, what was I going to do about it? Building the case. I started with verification. I couldn't go to my father with this information if there was any chance it was fabricated. He wouldn't believe me, and one wrong move would alert Victoria. I hired my own private investigator. A woman named Sarah Chen, another eerie coincidence, who specialized in fraud cases. I gave her everything the anonymous source had provided and asked her to confirm or deny it independently. It took her 3 weeks. "It's all accurate," Sarah said when we met at a coffee shop in Hartford. She slid a thick folder across the table. I verified the death certificates, the marriage licenses, the inheritance records. I even tracked down Brian Thomas and spoke to him. He confirmed everything. Victoria destroyed his relationship with his father, then walked away with millions while Brian got nothing. Did Brian say anything about how his father died? He thinks she poisoned him. Nothing he could prove, but his father's health declined rapidly in the final months. Fatigue, confusion, heart palpitations. All symptoms consistent with certain types of slow poisoning. My stomach turned. My father's been tired lately, distracted. Sarah's expression was grim. "Rebecca, I'm going to be honest with you. This woman is dangerous. She's got away with this at least 3 times. She's good at covering her tracks. If you're going to stop her, you need to be smart about it." "What do you suggest?" "First, we need evidence that will hold up. The pattern is compelling, but it's circumstantial. We need something concrete linking Victoria to illegal activity in her current marriage. The forgery, the financial manipulation, something that gives the police cause to investigate thoroughly. I have the forged withdrawal slips. That's a start, but we need more. We need to prove she forged them, and we need to show a clear motive and method. Over the next month, I became obsessed. I documented everything. I reached out to Amanda Ashford and Brian Thomas, building a network of Victoria's former victims. We compared notes, looking for patterns we could use. Amanda was eager to help. "I've been waiting for someone to stop her," she said during our first phone call. "I tried to warn people, but without proof, I just sounded like a bitter stepdaughter. Maybe together, we can finally get justice." We discovered that Victoria had a forensic accountant she worked with, a man named Gregory Bell, who specialized in helping wealthy individuals optimize their estates. Several of Victoria's husbands had used his services shortly before their deaths, making changes to their wills and setting up trusts that isolated their assets from family members. Sarah tracked down Gregory Bell and discovered he was under investigation by the IRS for helping clients hide assets. We realized he might be the weak link in Victoria's operation. Meanwhile, I hired a handwriting analyst to examine the withdrawal slips. The analyst confirmed what I'd suspected. The signatures were sophisticated forgeries, probably done by someone with practice. The forger had studied my signature carefully, but had made subtle mistakes in pressure and flow that a trained eye could spot. We now had proof that the signatures were fake. The question was, could we prove Victoria was the forger? The plan. "We need to catch her in the act," Sarah said during one of our strategy sessions. "We need evidence of her planning or executing her next move." "You think she's going to make another move soon?" "I think she's been planning it all along. Everything she's done so far has been preparation. Getting you out of the house removes a witness and someone who might interfere. Now she has your father isolated, probably has control over his finances, and is just waiting for the right moment." The thought made me sick. "So how do we catch her?" Sarah leaned forward. "We use what she doesn't know, that we're onto her. We set a trap." The plan was risky. I would reach out to my father, not to accuse Victoria, but to apologize. I would tell him I'd been dealing with stress and wanted to make amends. I would ask for a chance to prove I'd changed, to rebuild our relationship. The goal was to get back inside the house, even briefly, and to plant surveillance equipment. We needed to catch Victoria discussing her plans, accessing forged documents, or communicating with Belle or other accomplices. "This is borderline illegal," I pointed out. "Wiretapping your father's house without permission is definitely illegal," Sarah agreed. "Which is why we're not doing that. What we're doing is protecting him. You're his daughter. You have a legitimate concern for his safety based on credible evidence. If you happen to record something while trying to warn him, that's different." It was a legal gray area, but I was past caring about niceties. My father's life was at stake. I called him on a Sunday afternoon. Victoria usually went to yoga Sunday afternoons, one of the few routines she'd maintained consistently. "Dad, it's Rebecca." A long pause. "Rebecca, I know you're still angry with me. I understand. But I wanted to say I'm sorry. I should have been more responsible, more aware of how my actions affected you and Victoria." Another pause. I held my breath. "I appreciate that," he said finally. His voice was tired. "It's been a difficult time. I know, and I want to make things right. Could I maybe come by sometime? Just for coffee? I miss you." "I don't know, Rebecca. Victoria feels—" "Please, Dad. Just half an hour. I won't cause any trouble. I just want to see you." I could hear him thinking, weighing his love for me against whatever Victoria had told him. "Next Saturday," he said finally. 1:00. Victoria will be out at a charity event. Perfect. Back inside. The house looked the same, but felt different, smaller somehow. Or maybe I was seeing it through new eyes. My father greeted me at the door, and I was shocked by how much older he looked. His face was drawn, his eyes tired. "Dad?" I hugged him, and for a moment, he held me tight. "I've missed you, Rebecca." "I've missed you too." We sat in the living room, the same room where Victoria had orchestrated my exile. I'd prepared a small recording device, designed to look like a pen, that I planned to leave behind. I also had a USB drive with spyware that I hoped to load onto my father's computer if I got the chance. "How have you been?" I asked. "Busy. The Riverside development is taking more time than expected. Regulatory issues." I noticed prescription bottles on the side table. "Are you feeling okay?" "Just some heart medication. Preventative, Victoria insisted I see a cardiologist. Apparently, my father had heart problems, so she wanted to be safe. My blood ran cold. My grandfather had died in his 80s from completely unrelated causes. Victoria was laying the groundwork for my father's heart condition. That's good, I managed. It's important to be proactive. We talked for 20 minutes about safe subjects, my job, his work, neutral memories from before Victoria. I watched him take pills from one of the bottles, swallowing them with water. Dad, can I use your bathroom? Of course. As I walked upstairs, I palmed the pen recorder and left it on a bookshelf in the hallway, positioned to pick up sound from the master bedroom and my father's office. It would run for 72 hours before needing to be retrieved. On my way back, I glanced into my father's office. His computer was on, email open. I had maybe 30 seconds. I plugged in the USB drive, installed the monitoring software, and pulled it out. 20 seconds. My heart was racing. Find everything okay? My father asked when I returned. Yes, thanks. We talked for a few more minutes before Victoria's name appeared on his phone. He looked at the text and frowned. She's coming home early, something about the venue being overbooked. My time was up. I stood. I should go anyway. Thank you for seeing me, Dad. This meant a lot. Rebecca. He walked me to the door. I want to believe we can fix this. But trust takes time to rebuild. I know. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I drove away just as Victoria's Mercedes turned onto the street. In my rearview mirror, I saw her park and head inside. Her posture perfect, her expression unreadable. Phase 1 was complete. The truth revealed. Over the next week, the surveillance produced hours of material. Most of it was mundane. Victoria on phone calls with friends, discussing redecorating, complaining about traffic. But on the third day, we hit gold. Victoria's phone rang at 10:47 p.m. My father was already asleep. It's me, Victoria said, her voice low. We need to move up the timeline. A pause as the person on the other end spoke. No, it's fine. He's been taking the medication for 3 weeks now. Dr. Hartley says another month should do it. The symptoms are already presenting as cardiac issues. My hands clenched around my phone as I listened to the recording Sarah had sent me. The daughter? Victoria laughed. Handled. She thinks she's been forgiven, but James still doesn't trust her. When the time comes, no one will question that she wasn't included in the new will. The new will? Another pause. Yes, Gregory handled it last week. Everything goes to me, with a small trust for charity to make it look good. Once James is gone, I'll sell the business, liquidate the assets, and disappear. I'm thinking Paris this time, or maybe Sydney. There was more, but I couldn't listen. I felt sick. Sarah called minutes later. Did you hear it? Every word. Rebecca, this is it. This is what we need. She's actively plotting to kill your father. We need to go to the police now. Will they believe us? With this recording, the pattern of deaths, the forensic accounting, and the forged withdrawal slips? Yes, they'll have to investigate. We have enough for a warrant. The final confrontation. We went to the Connecticut State Police the next morning. Sarah had a contact there, a detective named Martinez who specialized in fraud and elder abuse. He listened to our evidence for 3 hours, his expression growing darker with each revelation. This is one of the most disturbing cases I've encountered, he said finally. But you're right. We have enough for a warrant. We'll coordinate with the FBI since this crosses state lines. The arrest happened 2 days later. I wasn't there, but Martinez called me afterward to give me the details. Police had arrived at the house with warrants for Victoria's arrest and to search the property. They found bottles of digoxin, a heart medication that in high doses can cause heart failure, hidden in Victoria's closet. The prescription was fake, written by a doctor who didn't exist. They found forged documents, including a new will leaving everything to Victoria. They found emails between Victoria and Gregory Bell discussing timing and estate optimization. Most damningly, they found Victoria's real identity documents hidden in a safe deposit box, along with newspaper clippings about her previous husband's deaths. My father had been home during the arrest. Martinez said he'd been in shock, unable to process what was happening. When they told him about the digoxin, that Victoria had been slowly poisoning him for weeks, he'd collapsed. He's in the hospital now, Martinez said. Just for observation. The doctors say he'll be okay. The damage wasn't irreversible. Can I see him? He's been asking for you. I found my father in a private room, looking small in the hospital bed. His face was pale, but his eyes were clearer than they'd been in months, like he was waking up from a long dream. Rebecca. His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I took his hand. Dad, you don't... I do. I should have believed you. I should have seen what she was doing. She poisoned me, Rebecca. Not just physically, but mentally. She made me doubt everything, even you, especially you. Tears ran down his cheeks. She took advantage of my grief over your mother, my loneliness, and I let her turn me against my own daughter. I'll never forgive myself. Dad, she was a professional. She'd done this before. She knew exactly how to manipulate people. That doesn't excuse what I did to you. Kicking you out, believing her lies. I should have known better. I squeezed his hand. We'll get through this. Together, like we should have all along. Epilogue. 6 months later. Victoria Morrison, also known as Victoria Ashford, Victoria Chen, and Victoria Sterling, is currently awaiting trial on multiple charges, including attempted murder, fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. The FBI connected her to the deaths of her 3 previous husbands and is working with authorities in California, Arizona, and Washington to build cases for those murders as well. Gregory Bell cooperated with prosecutors in exchange for a reduced sentence, providing detailed information about how Victoria had manipulated financial records and estate documents. His testimony revealed that Victoria had been planning my father's death for over a year, carefully building the narrative of his declining health, while slowly poisoning him. My father made a full physical recovery, though the emotional scars run deeper. We're rebuilding our relationship slowly with the help of family therapy. He sold the house. Neither of us could bear to live there after everything that had happened. He's stepping back from the business, focusing more on life outside of work. Brian Thomas and Amanda Ashford both testified at preliminary hearings. Watching them tell their stories, I felt a strange kinship. We were survivors of the same predator, linked by tragedy and luck. If the anonymous emailer hadn't reached out, I would probably be planning my father's funeral right now instead of having dinner with him every Sunday. We never figured out who sent that first email. Amanda denies it and Brian claims it wasn't him. My theory is that it was someone else Victoria targeted, someone who got away before she could complete her plan. Someone who's been watching and warning potential victims. Whoever they are, they saved my father's life. And mine, in a way. I still live in my studio apartment. I like the independence, the proof that I can survive on my own. But I also have keys to my father's new condo, and he has keys to my place. We're learning to trust again, to build something new from the ruins Victoria left behind. Sometimes I think about how close we came to losing everything, how one person's greed and malice nearly destroyed our family, how easy it is to believe lies when they're wrapped in kindness, to doubt the people we love when doubt is planted skillfully enough. But I also think about resilience, about the strength it takes to fight back against manipulation and gaslighting, about the importance of trusting your instincts, even when everyone else says you're wrong. My father and I were lucky. 3 other families weren't. We carry that weight with us, the knowledge that we survived something that killed others. But we also carry hope, that justice, though delayed, can still come, that truth, though buried, can still emerge, that families, though broken, can still heal. Victoria thought she could erase me from my father's life, steal his fortune, and disappear into a comfortable retirement built on murder and lies. She was wrong. And now, behind bars awaiting trial, she has plenty of time to think about that mistake, to contemplate how her dark past finally caught up with her, how the daughter she tried to erase became the one who exposed her. Sometimes I imagine her in her cell, that perfect smile finally cracking, that careful mask finally falling away. And I hope she understands. You can't force people out of their own stories. Eventually, the truth finds its way home. The names and some identifying details in this story have been changed, but the warning remains real. Trust your instincts, verify what you're told, and never let anyone isolate you from the people who truly love you.